Hello. Okay, this is section 7.4 and 7.5, where we'll be learning to graph quadratic functions and few other things. So basically, whenever we say quadratic functions, so far we have learned that the quadratic function is going to be in this form: ax squared plus bx plus c, right? And the new thing here we'll be learning is this thing, a times x minus h squared plus k. This is also a quadratic function. It's one of the quadratic function form. All right. So now, so basically, whenever you see this a value, a positive. So to write a positive, we're gonna say a is greater than 0. So the graph is always going to be, we know that the graph of a quadratic function is always a parabola, but if a is greater than 0, it's going to be something like this. It's going to face up. All right. And if a is less than 0, then it's always like this, facing down. And if you see this one, this point, this is a minimum point of this graph, right? And this is a maximum point of this graph. So the minimum or maximum point are always called vertex. And the vertex we always write h comma k. All right. And also this k value is always called, if it is a minimum, well, we call this min or minimum. And if it is this graph and this point is called maximum, right? So now, let's start with one problem. So let's say if we have an equation like this, which is basically this one, right? So let me just write here again. Right, so from these two, sorry, I wrote this again. It should have been f of x, a times x minus h squared plus k. All right, so when we compare these two, as we said that the vertex is h comma k, right? So when we compare these two, we can get the value of h and k, right? So when you compare these two, there is a minus here, there is a minus here. So a is 2, right? And minus h, so h is 3, k is 4. So as we said that the vertex is h comma k, so the vertex is h is 3, 4. So the vertex point is 3, 4. All right, so if you see equation or a quadratic equation in this form, all you have to do is just compare this equation to this to get the vertex. All right, and another one is axis. So let's say this is the first one. Another one is axis of symmetry. So axis of symmetry is always an equation. This is actually equation. So you always have to write axis of symmetry in this form. x is equals to h. So this is an equation. So to write an equation, we don't write anything for x. We just have to write the value of h. So x is equals to h. We got 3 here. So x is equals to 3. So this is called axis of symmetry. So which is equation. Do not just write 3. That will make no sense. So you have to write this whole thing, x is equals to 3. All right. And after that, as I mentioned up here, max and mean, right? So we're going to use that here. So we need to find max or min. So as we know that the a is 2, which is a positive, right? So if it is a positive, then it's gonna face up like this, right? So the vertex here is a minimum, right? So that means for this equation, we are gonna get a minimum value. So if you see a problem asking find minimum or maximum, then we're gonna say minimum or maximum, but in this case it's a minimum. So minimum is equals to, it's always a k value. All right, k value. If it is asking axis of symmetry, then x is equals to h, and you have to write like in this form. If you see max or min, it's always k. So minimum value is equals to, it's 4, right? So now since here we just got a rough graph, right? Just this. So now what we can find is, well, we need to find the graph. So the graph here, since we already know the vertex, we found is 3, 4, right? So the vertex value, let's just find the vertex is 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it must be somewhere down here, right? And now after that, to get the exact graph of this function, the vertex, so you need another point. So here we need to find the y-intercept. So we need to find a point right here where the graph is going to intersect. So we need to find y-intercept point. So to get the y-intercept point, as we know that our function is this, right? And basically we can replace this f of x by y as well. So now to find the y-intercept, well, if you go back, way back, we learned that at y-intercept, x value is 0. And at x-intercept, y value is 0. But since we're trying to find the y-intercept, so at y-intercept, x is 0. So from this equation right here, we can find y. Y is equals to 2 times, we said x is 0, right? So 0 minus 3 squared plus 4. This gives 2. 0 minus 3 is still minus 3. Minus 3 squared is positive 9 plus 4. So 9 plus 2 is 18. 18 plus 4 is 22. Right? So once you get the value of y, now you can change this to a point form, right? So we know that the x is 0. We assume here, so 0, comma, y is 22. Right? So now we got a y-intercept. So from this graph right here, well, 0, 22 is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, you can just make this 12 times. Let me just assume this point is a 22 point. So this is 0, 22. So once you know the 2 points, well, it must be a parabola. It's not just a straight line, because we are graphing a quadratic function. So it must be something like this, which is a parabola. So this is the exact graph of this equation right here. All right, I'll talk more about this thing in the next video. That's it for this one. Thank you.